welcome to the Passive Income Show, Nick. We're excited to have you here.
Thanks.
I know that you're a programmer slash developer. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? And also, if you would, share with people how old you are, because I know that you're a younger guy, just like Phil. Of course, everybody's younger to me, but but share with us a little bit of your background pre-Udemy, and then maybe how you discovered Udemy.
Sure. So this is terrible. I'm so dumb. Just going to grab my charger. It's in the next room.
Okay. Pause recording.
Nick hasn't been on too many blab interviews, I guess.
Right. I think this is his first blab, actually. So this is awesome.
Yeah, everybody's probably like, who's this redneck that got on this internet show? He has no idea what he's doing, but I promise. All right.
I don't know. I think it adds more drama to this blab.
Dramatic. Woo. Okay. Yes, I am an iPhone developer, and that all started back in 2010. So from 2008 to 2010, I was on a Mormon mission in Japan where you're kind of just cut off from the world. You're just preaching the good word for a bit. And so I come home, and as a welcome home gift, my dad got me a brand new iPhone 4. And so I had kind of been gone when apps took off. And so it was amazing to see all these apps. Like I remember I was playing Scrabble with my aunt, and she's like, oh, let me get my Scrabble dictionary app to check if that's real word. I was like, that's the thing? Like there's apps for like freaking everything. And I remember the first time I took my phone into the bathroom with me, and it was like 45 minutes before I left, just because it's like, oh my gosh, you can do everything on here. So anyways, fell in love with apps and decided I really wanted to make one. The app I wanted to make was a mini golf scorecard. And so I tried to learn how to do it online and just never got anywhere. YouTube videos were just made for people who were way more advanced than me. I tried some courses, just like never connected. But like seriously, about 2.5 years later, just through like going to meetups, asking people questions, just being like the village idiot, like eventually I started to kind of pick up steam. And I'm sure with a lot of things, it's like once you hit this like certain point, you can kind of start to learn on your own. So for me, it was just like, it took forever to get to some point, but once you kind of get some programming under your belt, it's like all the crap online started to make sense. It's like, oh, these tutorials, like I can actually like get stuff from there. So that's how I got into iPhone programming, was just through wanting to make a mini golf scorecard app.
Yeah, it's really funny to me that you learned about apps from your aunt, and your aunt was probably older than you, right?
Oh,
isn't it usually the other way around?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I had just kind of missed that wave over the 2 years, and it was so usual to everyone. To me, it was just like, this is like freaking sweet, you know?
That's awesome. So what also impresses me is you weren't a tech guy, right? You didn't go to school and take technology classes or anything. It sounds like you self-taught yourself how to create apps, right?
Yes. I did it in like the worst way possible. And it took forever. I mean, it was eventually the big thing I learned was like, it was going to these kind of meetups with physical in-person interaction where I was finally able to learn it. Cause at least, I don't know if anyone's ever felt this, but I always, when I'm like going through tech stuff, there's people who are really good at tech that I feel like they were born that way, and they have a really hard time peeling back for beginners. And it's like, they just don't understand what it's like to be a complete idiot. And so
right.
That was super hard for me to learn at first.
Huh.
I got a quick question, one from our audience actually, about when you were starting to learn all this stuff. Did you have some sort of specific mentor that helped you along the way, or was it just through, being self-taught and doing it on your own?
No mentor. I mean, looking back, I think that would have been a great thing. But I will say when things really started to take off is when I was able to get some friends who did do iPhone programming to work with me one-on-one and answer some of the questions that I had. Because a lot of things that I'd follow is I'd go to an online tutorial, you get to step 2, and I don't know what that means. some word they use, and then just you're done. You can't move forward after that. And so having someone there that I could just ask questions with is what kind of like pushed it over the edge for me. But no mentor. I wish I had one.
That's amazing. I mean, and it also goes to your story. We'll get to that in a second, about how you created this amazing course that just blew up on you. It sounds like you're a good natural learner, right? It sounds like you can learn something very quickly or very resolutely and then teach it, and that's awesome. So how did you hear about Udemy for the first time?
So actually, it was funny. The very first time I used Udemy, I didn't really realize it, but I was trying to find some information about App Store optimization. I was trying to get some apps I had higher up in rankings. And some guys sent me an email. He's like, buy my course, it's 50% off. And I click on it. And all of a sudden, like everything's green. And it's like this Udemy, like what is this guy? And so I started clicking around and I saw all these courses, and I couldn't even get back to the original course that I was looking to do. I had to go back to the email and then like click on that one. But that was the first course I took. I didn't realize really at the time that Udemy was a platform. And then it was later I had lunch with a friend and he was like, hey, look, these people are making like millions on Udemy. So it was funny because it was like, you look at a course, you see the price of it, and then like the number of students enrolled, and he's like everyone on here is making millions. You realize later, like, okay, a lot of these are coupon sales, so not everybody on here is straight millionaires. But that's how I first learned about it.
And that is kind of an exciting thing when you first see that even if not all those people made the full price sale, there's still a lot of volume coursing through the Udemy veins. There's a lot of sales going through there. So when did you actually start on Udemy?
So this all kind of coincided with Apple came out with this new programming language called Swift in 2014. And for anybody that's like non-techie, like new programming languages just don't come out every day. Like it's a big deal. Okay. So it's like Apple had been using this language called Objective-C for the past 20 years. And Objective-C is weird. Like even people who program all the time, if they try Objective-C, they're like, this thing's weird. Just kind of like the style that you use for it. Like, so this new programming language, Swift, they came out with like one of the big aims of it was to like help people get into programming much quicker. It was supposed to be a much friendlier programming language. And of course, Apple, like they don't release anything until it's perfect and, well, their version of perfect. And they release it on, one day and it starts selling like right then. So they don't like announce something, then eventually it comes out. So this language comes out. It's a shock to everybody. Like no one expected this, and had a full set of documentation that was like everything you need to start using this language. And like that day you could download it and using it. So the day that announcement came out, I just thought, everyone's at square one. Like no one knows anything about this language. Like I should start teaching people. Like I know how sucky some of the content is out there for this stuff. And, there's no experts. Like I could become the Swift expert. And so it was that same night that Apple released this language, I started filming videos, and I didn't even know that I was going to put it at Udemy at that point. I just figured I could sell it somewhere or do like a YouTube thing. It was the next day that I just Googled. I was like, how do I sell an online course? And Udemy came up and I started putting it in there.
Huh. So do you know what day that was? What was the date on that day that you...
June 2nd, 2014, I think. It was whatever day Swift came out. So I think that's it.
Okay. So that's where your big story comes from, right? That's where the Forbes.com article is talking about, where you suddenly made this huge amount of money from your one Udemy course. So was this your first Udemy course ever that you posted?
Yeah, it was the very first one. And so the whole first course that I made took 4 days to make. I was like very driven to be the very first Swift course. So every day was just wake up, make videos, eat, make videos, eat, make videos, sleep. And, same thing over again. So it came out and I had a couple of sales in like the first 2 weeks. And I think it totaled like $400. And for me, that was a life changer. At the time, I had a goal to make $4,000 every month. And I was just kind of doing like consulting work. And I was like, this class is selling when I'm not even doing anything. Like, this is the best thing in the world. And then I got this email from someone at Udemy. They said, "Oh, it's so cool you made this class so quickly for this new language. Like, we want to promote it to some students." I was like, "Okay, great." And then they emailed back later. They're like, "We're gonna like push it live in a couple of days, like thousands of people." I'm like, "Oh, sure, great." Like, I don't really know what this Udemy thing is, but then when the day they did push it, it made 20 grand in one day.
Wow.
I very vividly remember being at my kitchen table eating cereal, and I opened my computer. It was the day of the thing, and I have 200 new emails, and like I hit refresh. Every time I hit refresh, like 2 or 3 come through, and it's like, "Alex, so and so is bought your course. Bought your course." I was just like, "This is crazy," and like it was just like a dumbfounding moment. It's like, do I finish my cereal? Like, I don't know what to do. I got to go tell someone about this. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just like a follow-up question on that, because I've had quite a bit of success on Udemy, but if I ever had a day where I made 20 grand, that would be insane. And like, I'm sure you had never made close to that in a day, let alone a month or even a year up until this point. What was going through your head? Like, did you even believe it was happening?
Yeah, it just didn't seem real at all. And I mean, it's kind of funny because, it takes a while once you make sales to actually get that money right. You got to wait the 30 days and then like a week or so for processing. So it was even after all that sale had happened. I think at the end of the sale, like I had made 40 grand in that first month. It's like, wow. I was like, I'm not going to believe this till it's in my checking account. And so it for a while, it just didn't seem real. And then once the money was there, it was like, holy crap, like this is a real thing. But yeah. For me, I just really couldn't process it.
And you didn't have to buy a Powerball ticket for that, right?
No Powerball. Nope.
So that's exciting. I mean, just imagine that. So $40,000 that first month. And then how does that $66,000 number come about?
So that came from so that was like June, July, all that was happening. And then later in the summer, in like August, September, I launched a Kickstarter course for a class on how to make iPhone apps. So this course I had made was for this new language, Swift, just about the actual language. But everyone said this, and I kind of knew it. It's like, that wasn't the best course for someone who wanted to get into apps, because it just taught you just the language, which all you can do with that is, I can do some math problems and stuff. Like, it's good to know so that you can make apps. But if you're not actually making apps, it's like, what's the point? So, I think it was in August, I launched a Kickstarter for this new class I was going to make called How to Make a Freaking iPhone App. That was just kind of like, if I was going to learn for the first time, I wish I would have seen a class like that was kind of fun. And so I just kind of pegged the whole class on like, this is we'll teach you how to make apps. And that Kickstarter made $66,000 over the 30 days that it ran. So that's where that figure from Forbes came from.
That is amazing. So so you could probably teach a course on how to use Kickstarter to launch an online course.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, that is hopefully coming out this year. I don't have an exact timeline pegged down, but that's something I definitely want to do, because I've learned a few tips and tricks and some very dumb things that you should never do. So hopefully I can pass that on.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I do see some instructors that are launching their courses, and before they even create their course, they know that they've got X amount of money coming in from their Kickstarter campaign, people buying into that. And it's a very ingenious way to tap into a whole nother traffic source, a whole nother source of audience by going on Kickstarter. That's pretty cool. That's very exciting, because whether your Udemy course does big numbers or not, you've already got this money that is paying you to create the course. I mean, that's really cool.
I mean, it's when you step back from it, the idea is crazy. Like, people are paying you for something that doesn't exist yet. Like, if that's like the biggest vote of confidence, like, here's some money, go make this thing, you know?
Yeah, that is awesome. So tell us about the Forbes.com article. When I saw that, I was just blown away. I was like, wow, this kid, and I think it said in the article, you were in your pajamas, you were just learning the programming language and then teaching it, learning it and teaching it, and then eating maybe once in a while, and then sleeping once in a while, right? So tell us how that Forbes article came about. Did they contact you, or how did they find out about you?
So that's all a credit to Udemy. They had I think kind of the idea was after the Swift class went big, they kind of, I went and visited their office one day because my brother lives out in Silicon Valley. And so I was like, hey, I should go to the office and say thank you for, changing my life with this one email that they sent. But I was talking with them, and I think they just kind of realized, like, this is kind of a unique story. Like, a guy who just got out of school and never had a teaching background was able to, make a successful course, and now is teaching thousands of people this new thing. So I think for a while, Udemy was like, let's make Nick the like Udemy rock star. And so there was 2 girls at Udemy's office that just, they were pursuing lots of other things, but one of them is trying to push my story. And so I think they were the ones that talked with Forbes and said, hey, do you want to do this? And then this woman from Forbes, Susan, contacted me, and it just kind of rolled from there. So it's Udemy that ultimately got that set up.
Wow. That's really cool. Now, have you seen any offshoots from that Forbes article? Because that's pretty good. That's pretty good exposure for you as an instructor. Have you seen any other, obviously, being interviewed on the Passive Income Show? I mean, that's got to be way up there with Forbes.com. But
big deal right here.
but what other opportunities have you seen from that as well?
So there's kind of some positives and negatives. I mean, the negatives aren't that bad, but so positives, I think it's just kind of helped me get some level of credibility with things. I mean, it's kind of silly when you think about it, because it's like I was doing the same thing before and after the Forbes article. But if someone sees that there's a Forbes article, it's like, oh my gosh, this kid's a genius. He's doing crazy things. But in reality, it's like, if the article hadn't been written, is it like I'm a dumb kid now, So, it's just like, I think sometimes it helps with validation, as like unfair as that is. I think it helps with that. But what's really interesting, so sometimes I get annoyed by it, but most of the times I'm happy about it, is I've met a lot of people who started teaching because of reading my story. And so for most people, I wouldn't be upset, but there's sometimes I've had people in like my own, world, like the iPhone programming niche, that they're like, right. Oh, like I started teaching because of you. And they're like now taking all the students. So I got to fight with them. I'm like, glad that you're teaching, and it's an awesome thing, but it's like, now I've made more competition kind of a thing. So
yeah, that does happen. And you happen to be in a very popular niche, right? On Udemy. I mean, that's a very high demand niche, which is app development and developing and programming. So
true.
I'm just amazed that at your story. I'm amazed that you, first of all, taught yourself how to create apps. And then when that programming language came out, you saw the opportunity to jump on it and be the first person. Now, it's not always a good idea to be the first in the Udemy world. It's better normally to see that there's a market that exists and people are already buying a product. In your case, you knew it was a no-brainer because, it's Apple. They're launching something brand new that they haven't done in 20 years. So that was, I thought that was very insightful of you to jump on that right away. And in that case, being first to market really made a lot of sense. So how would you say Udemy has changed your life? And, online teaching in general?
So I'd say the biggest thing I love about teaching online is just the freedom and the flexibility that it brings. So I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but it's like, even when I was working for myself as like a contractor, it's like you have deadlines with people and you've got to make sure things are like running with them. And I mean, it can be really stressful. Not that online teaching isn't stressful, but for the past year and a half that I've been teaching, I can take vacation whenever I want to, and I can work wherever I want. So for example, my wife's out of town this week. She's at like a corporate training thing. And so my younger brother goes to school down in BYU. It's like an hour south of me. And so I just went last night and crashed at his place. I went to school with him today. And like, I just went to the classes he went to, and I was working on answering questions for students, typing emails. And it's like, you can work anywhere you want. So that's, for me, the biggest thing. I just love the flexibility and control that you get.
I feel like coming into it kind of like at the same age and having this kind of job and seeing that it's possible to create a passive income that pays me in the nights, on the weekends, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it's hard to imagine going back to a 9 to 5, which I did have for a while. But it's good because the possibilities are endless. But I'm also young enough where it's like, if for some reason this doesn't continue working out for the next 30 or 40 years, I will have to change something up. But what are do you imagine doing this for a long time? I'm sure there's people who also wonder if Udemy is going to last forever. You've made a lot of money so far, but that could change overnight. And so what are you doing to kind of prepare for what's next?
So a lot of thoughts there. And I just wanted to say, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but the first day of every month is like a mini panic attack for me. Every time I open the little revenue thing on the first day of the month and it's like $4, I'm like, oh gosh, the gig is up. No one's buying this class. Like, it was good while it was good, but now I'm like totally screwed. So, obviously things ultimately end up happening and it's like, all right. But that is kind of a fear that I still haven't conquered, that it's like at the start of every month, it's like, this is not a for sure paycheck. Like, people decide not to stop liking your course. Something goes bad with like Udemy, whatever, like things could get nasty quick. As far as the future goes, I've really decided to kind of double down on teaching, at least for the next, 5-10 years. I can't see too far out into the future, but it was funny because my first thought when I was making that Swift class was, I thought, I'm going to do this thing because maybe I can make like some side money so that I can be doing apps more full time. And so kind of the first year that I was teaching, it was like, I'd spend a lot of time when I was making courses, but when I wasn't making courses, I'd maybe work 5 hours a week on just kind of maintaining stuff. And instead I was like, oh, I'm going to, work on my other projects. But I found, at least for me right now, I don't have like a true passion that is like, oh, I really want to be doing this. Whereas the Udemy stuff, like I really enjoy like making the content and also kind of the business side of things. Like, how do you promote stuff? So the goal that I've kind of set for myself is I want to make $1 million in a 12-month period of time through online teaching. So that's not like, okay, in 2016, I will make $1 million. No, it's like, hopefully this year I did better than last year. And eventually I can just like build things to the point that I make $1 million over a 12-month period of time. So for me, that's just kind of the goal for the future. I have no idea how long that's going to take. I'd love it if it happens sooner than later, but I feel like I'm going to be teaching until I can at least make $1 million.
That's awesome. I just want to pry a little bit because I know you have shared your online income reports. Can you share kind of any more information about how much you're making per month or how much you've made total? And you don't have to if you don't want to.
No, totally. So that's I've starting to do this new thing called Teach to $1 Million, which is just kind of a name behind this trying to make $1 million. So I have a website, teach2amillion.com, where I'm going to try and be sharing monthly income reports about how much I'm making and stuff. But I just checked yesterday when I logged into Udemy. So I think from Udemy, I've made around like $220,000. And then if you put money together from like Kickstarter stuff, I think it's been maybe around like 100 to 150. So altogether, it's somewhere between like 300, 400,000, which for me is like
a year or two, right?
Yeah, in a year and a half. So it's been crazy, but
that's a pretty good salary.
Yeah, I have no complaints about it.
Yeah, I just made a mental note. I should probably launch my next course on Kickstarter.
You should. I mean, it's like it confirms that you're making something that people want. And I totally loved what you said. I think a lot of people think of Kickstarter as like, I'm trying to do this movie. Like, I just need like 40 more bucks and I can get, the thing behind it. But I treat Kickstarter as the sales place. Like I do a Kickstarter one to make sure it's a class people want. But kind of even more than that is like, there's people on Kickstarter that you can reach that would have otherwise never heard about your class. So
right. Yeah. They've never heard of Udemy yet. And there's millions of people who haven't heard of Udemy yet. Mm-hmm. Right now, Udemy has 9 million members, which sounds like a lot. But when you think about the scheme of things, like Amazon.com has 250 million members,
Yeah.
Udemy has 9. There's a long way to go in the online learning space. Udemy, the good thing about Udemy is they've proven the concept that people want to buy online courses. So
Mm-hmm.
now we happen to be at really the beginning of this thing. And really, we're all kind of going to be looking back on this and going, remember that time we had that blab and we only had like 35 people on the call or 40 or whatever? And we were talking about how you got started, and it's going to be so amazing because
Right.
this thing is growing like crazy. It's going like this. They added 4 million students last year. They added 3 million students the year before that.
Okay.
And I think the year before that, they only had 2 million to begin with. So,
Wow.
so it's going like crazy. So it's a really an awesome and exciting experience. So let me ask you, Nick, a couple other questions that came to mind is, since you were able to learn a new programming language and teach it simultaneously, like literally in a 4-day period, right? Which I think is just, I just tip my hat off to you, because I'm known for creating online courses pretty quickly, but to actually learn it and teach it, I think that's pretty amazing. So do you have any tips on something like that? If somebody in our audience right now says, I'm excited about this online teaching stuff and I'm not really sure what to teach, could you give them some ideas or some tips on how to learn and simultaneously teach something?
So one thing just about the Swift stuff, as I was learning it and teaching it, I mean, my whole class was kind of based around the idea that I said, so Apple put out this documentation that was really laid out that kind of walked you through the language. And so my whole class was just walking people through that, providing more than just the documentation, like doing some extra examples on top. So for me, what I think helped make it go so quickly was there was already an outline set up of exactly what the content was going to be. For me, it was just like, people hate documentation. The technical people at Apple, they don't speak regular people English. They're like, now we must add the variable quadratic. And you're just like, what are you talking about? So because I had some experience, I was kind of able to like translate that and provide some extra stuff that I thought really would help people. So having that outline helped a lot. But for someone who wants to start teaching, I think the biggest thing is just remember that feeling when you were very first picking something up. Like, as much as you can get back into that frame of mind, like when I was doing this for the very first time, think of all like the stupid things that you didn't know. Like the very first time you did Photoshop and you had no idea that there was things called layers, right? Like, it's like you really got to walk people through that. So as much as you can, like, get back into that initial stage of thought. And the other thing is, don't get so caught up that you're not the absolute expert on things, because people really aren't looking for experts. I personally think some people in the programming world, at least, I'm sure like there's other places, some of the very top-notch elite are just very stuck up and they think there's only one way to do it. But so many people don't want to learn like that. They don't want to learn the exact way to do something. They kind of want just someone to walk them through. Like, and when I teach, I always trying to imagine the person I'm teaching is right here next to me. So right. I never try and put on a face like, and now as we move into this module, let's talk about how we can move these things. It's like, no, if my friend was here and he's like, hey, can you teach me some app stuff? I would do my best to just tell him exactly how to do it. And so I'd say be natural. Remember what it's like to be a beginner.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. And I think we all kind of, as instructors, we put ourselves in that framework, that frame of mind of thinking like a student and trying to answer every question possible that they might have. Mm-hmm. Do you have any, now you've been on Udemy for about a year, a little over a year now?
Yeah, a year and a half.
Okay, year and a half. Do you have any marketing tips, any ways that you market your courses or get the word out about your courses?
So, I mean, every month when there's that little graph of stuff, right? Like definitely the hugest chunk for me is the Udemy organic. Right. So outside of Udemy, I have not found great things. I mean, Kickstarter, I would say, is one of the biggest things that, has been working for me outside of Udemy. I think inside of Udemy, one of the best things that you can do is think like, or one thing that helped me a lot is I was trying to buy a class on Google AdWords because I was trying to, I've always thought, man, maybe I should run ads for my class. Like I've tried before, but it wasn't very profitable. So I wanted to learn for myself. And so I searched Google AdWords, and I'm scrolling through. I'm like, 5 reviews. That's a crap class. Not spending my money on that. And then like I kept going, and I watched one, but then like the guy just had a bunch of really cheesy graphics. It's like, I'm not spending my time with this dude. And so that whole process kind of made me think, like, what do people think when they see my course? So I'd say the biggest thing that's helped me with marketing is just trying to remember, like, what are people looking for in a course? So I think a huge thing is ratings. Like if you ever bought something from Amazon, I think ratings is one of the biggest things tell you whether it's a great product or not. So similarly in Udemy, like whether it's fair or not, you've got to get review numbers, because that's people like, just this got more reviews, it's got to be better. It may or may not be better, but in people's mind, like that's what connects. So kind of big overarching thing, try and get in the mind of someone who wants to learn something and what they might like.
Are you actively trying to get people to review your class by posting educational announcements, or is it within your class that you have lectures where you ask people, or how are you getting people to review your classes?
So I haven't had any huge breakthroughs. Something that I've definitely noticed is, inside. So people who post questions on a lecture or something, if you respond to them and, you know, they're happy that they got a response, I will usually then go send them a message and say, hey, it was awesome talking with the thing. Like, you know, if you wouldn't mind leaving a review for me, like it helps me a ton as a teacher. And like, I can make more stuff with that. Like I've been most successful if I'm interacting with someone who's already joined the class and is like an active participant. I haven't tried the educational announcement thing yet. I keep thinking I should, but I'm like always kind of a little bit afraid to pull the trigger, because it's just like, hello world, leave me a review. And it seems a little bit like off to me. So maybe if I can find the right way to do that, I'll try it. But yeah, that's the best I have right now.
I like that.
Yeah, we have one of the people asking, Sir John Ryder's asking, what's the best way to get reviews? And I can give a tip on that. Is the best way is really the manual way of just reaching out to people when they hit a certain percentage of your course completed. Like if they've completed 25% or 30% of your course, you know, by then they've gotten a feel for the course, but you also want to catch them before they start to drop off, because not everybody goes all the way through a complete course. So you want to get them around that 20, 25, 30% mark and just say, hey, I hope you're enjoying the course. If you have any questions, I'm here. I just want you to know I'm here available to answer your questions. And if you've liked the course so far, I would really appreciate if you'd leave a review for the course. And then I give them a reason why to leave a review. And that is future students will really appreciate hearing what you thought of the course. So that puts them in the mindset of, oh, I was a student and I read the reviews and they were helpful to me. So that makes sense that I should leave a review for future students. It also kind of gives them a little bit of a legacy feeling, like, oh, I get to leave my review and here for future generations to see. So I just word it like that. And unfortunately, you know, when you start to get big, like Phil has 48 courses.
Yeah, 50 maybe by now.
50. Okay. Phil has 50 courses. I have 40. So when you start to get bigger and bigger, it's harder to take the time to really reach out like that. I'm actually going to assign that to my wife, because reviews are really that important. They're really critical now. The way that Udemy changed their display, they no longer display number of students. They only display the reviews, you know, in the main search engine. So now it's all about reviews. So that's why I thought it would be good to mention that. It's a good thing to just reach out, very friendly, very warm, and at the very end, just say, you know, future students will appreciate hearing from you. It gives them a sense of how important they are to the whole review process. So yeah, that's exciting. But yeah, I'm definitely I've already talked to my wife, and she's willing to do it because she knows it's going to really help the bottom line all the way down the road. So, and so, Nick, do you have any tips for new people?
Props to Dave for that one. That was great. Great answer. I'm going to try that. I never even thought to do by course completion. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good way to go. And it works, by the way. It works because people see that you're reaching out one-on-one and they pay attention to it. So, and sometimes they ask questions. They'll ask a question, which is even better because that develops engagement, and that's another ranking factor in our Udemy courses. So, but I was going to ask Nick, do you have any tips for new people? Like there are some people on here right now that probably have never thought about creating an online course. Maybe they're new to the whole idea of how I can take what's in this brain right here, put it into online tutorials, like simple how-to videos, and make an income every month from that point on. I mean, people that regularly are on the show, they know I'm a skateboarder, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm 52 years old, and I still go out to skate parks and I skate empty pools at skate parks. Now, I don't get into people's backyards anymore like I used to when I was a teenager, but now I actually go to skate parks. But the point is, I get to go skateboarding, and when I'm skateboarding, I'm making money. There's money coming in from my online courses. Yeah. So you could say that I'm skateboarding and I'm teaching at the same time, right? Because my courses are doing the teaching for me. So I don't know. I think that people need to really understand the concept of passive income and how cool it is to have a passive income, to have an income that comes in, day out, 24 hours a day, all the time, no matter what you're doing, the money's coming in, so that you separate yourself from the equation of making an income. The income is making itself.
Right.
That is so cool, So let us have some tips on what you would say to new people who maybe, a couple people that have never thought about teaching online, maybe some encouraging thoughts on that. And maybe to people who have thought about teaching online and what is the best way to get started?
Okay. So I'll start first with people who have never taught. And I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is just that people want to know what you have to offer. Just like, and you may not think you're a pro at stuff, but people really need hand-holding through things. I mean, I think for me, trying to learn programming, just so many people thought they were talking to beginners when they're not talking to beginners at all. And I think I have a cousin who sews, not for a living, but she does a lot of side stuff. And she even teaches classes in her house, like how to sew and stuff. And I keep telling her, I'm like, make a sewing class on Udemy. There's people out in the world that would love to know that. And she's just like, well, I can't get the professional equipment for it. And, I'm just not that good yet. And I just think none of that is relevant. So I'm going to touch really quickly on the equipment stuff. Before I upgraded any equipment, I had taught over 20,000 students with the Apple earphones that come bundled with an iPhone, those ones right there, right? So it's not the greatest quality in the world, and I've finally upgraded. But I made over probably $150,000, $200,000 and taught over 20,000 people with the Apple earphone buds. So do not let mechanics of I don't have this mic, I don't have this camera. Don't let that get in the way. And the other thing is, you may think that what you know is just kind of common knowledge, but if any of you guys have heard of Dave Ramsey, he's this personal finance dude. He always says on his show, he's like, common people don't have common sense, and I teach common sense on the radio. That's what keeps me in business. And so things that you think are just completely obvious, no one knows about, there are people that want to know that. So then as far as people who are teaching that are trying to grow stuff, I don't know. I'm still trying to learn a whole lot. That's a big part of me making this teachtoamillion.com is I'm trying to connect more with people, do stuff like this blab, and just pick up things because I think a lot of stuff that I've been doing is just it's my best shot. I have no idea if it's the right way to do things. But like you said, I think it's definitely worth it to try and get into this because like you said, online learning's only going to get bigger. It was funny going to my younger brother's college campus today. I just thought, how long is this thing going to happen when kids go to this boring lecture and 95% of them are on laptops doing something else because it's just what the teacher's teaching them and what they want to know is just so off. And so it's only going to get bigger. And the passive income thing is great. So I just got married this past October, and one of the
All right.
happiest moments for me was to wake up every morning to the waves of the beach in Hawaii with my newly married wife, and I checked the thing and I made like $200 yesterday. It's like, this is the life. Like it doesn't get better than that. So for you, that's skateboarding, right? For someone else, maybe that's doing some other thing, gardening. I don't know what it is, but yeah, building up something that can live on its own is a very cool thing. It's worth some sacrifice.
It's definitely exciting. For Phil, it's creating 10 more courses. Right?
It's like, that's true, creating courses, but we're on the same path. I got married last year too, and I was on my honeymoon, and before that, traveling and getting to see the passive income pay for that and earn while I was taking vacation is great. I'm lucky that my wife gets full-time benefits and gets to pay for, I'm covered under her health insurance, but there are the pros and cons. Yeah. I have some questions though, just generally from people asking that, a lot of people aren't going to have Udemy promoting their first course to their list. And so for someone who's like completely new, someone's asking, do you recommend giving out your course for free just to build up your brand, to get students in your course? Do you have any advice for someone who's starting from scratch, and what would you do if you were starting from scratch and you didn't have Udemy promoting your course?
It's a good question. So, and I'll start it with, to be completely honest, I might not have the best answer because I was extremely lucky with what Udemy did. And so I honestly don't completely understand that feeling of, I just made this baller course and no one's buying it kind of a thing. But I will notice some obvious things that I try and jump in the Udemy studio and like help some people that are new every once in a while. So the biggest thing is, so we were talking about like, you got to know what it looks like when someone's trying to buy a course. And we talked about how good reviews are. So if you launch a course, there's no reason after the first 24 hours, you shouldn't have at least five reviews. Like, 5 people, go to them, give them the link, say, I want you to watch some of my course and leave a review for it. Like, just like brute force contacting people, get some reviews. Like, don't put all this effort 2 months into this course making it. And then one of the biggest things that determines where someone's buying is a review. And it's like, I'm gonna wait organically, see if someone may or may not leave a review for it. No, like just go forward, talk to a couple people and get some initial reviews. So I think that's a really big thing. I think something I've noticed more and more is like email is a really great way to reach people. Announcements on Udemy ultimately get to people's inbox, but it's kind of labeled as a Udemy announcement, and people may or may not treat that differently. But when you have someone's email, you can kind of like slice yourself right into the world really quick. And they may or may not click on your thing, but there's nothing more effective than email marketing for trying to sell something. So whether it's going to different online communities and collecting emails, just find emails of people who are interested in what you're teaching about. I guess those are some things I would maybe try.
Awesome. Are you building an email list on your own right now?
Yeah, I'm so I have the one for all my coding stuff that I'm still trying to figure out the name for it. The name right now that I want to maybe push is Zappy Code, because it kind of sounds like fun coding, Zappy Code. And yeah, I probably have about 5,000 emails in that list.
Nice. And how are you getting people onto that list? Why are people joining?
Yeah, so a huge chunk of those were before Udemy really like hammered down, these are our policies and you've got to follow these. If you don't, you get a strike. I was doing contests where it was like, hey, I'm giving away an Apple TV, come leave your email here and you'll be entered to win. So admittedly, a ton of those came from being able to kind of suck out emails of people who were in the Udemy courses. Since they've like really locked down, and now it's like I know plenty of instructors who get banned for a month, right, if they don't follow that stuff. I try and provide tutorials at least once a week that teaches something cool, right? That's not like a core principle in my class, but something kind of on the top extra gravy. And I'll put that tutorial on my website, and there I have places to put in your email. I'll mention it in the video, like, exclusive content just for signing up for, this email list and those kind of things. So that back in the day, you could really kind of pull things without getting in too much of trouble. Now, I still don't have great ideas, but that's what I've been doing is tutorials and hopefully getting some trickle there.
Awesome.
Well, one good idea for you, Nick, would be to maybe do what we're doing here. We're doing a weekly blab every week, Thursday night. We call it the Passive Income Show because it's always about online teaching and also being an expert and a coach, consultant in your field. But maybe doing not necessarily a weekly blab, but maybe once a month or once every couple of weeks, and get your students over to your blab and then answer their questions. This is good for any instructor, by the way, on any topic. You could hold a blab, and then within your educational announcement, Udemy does allow us to point to a blab. We could put a link to a live blab like this one. And once those students are on your blab, you can then get them on your email list because obviously Udemy doesn't control that. So it's a really good way. As soon as I found out that blab was an approved way for us to move students from Udemy somewhere else. And by the way, there's also the great thing that you're providing an awesome service. You're helping them. You're building your engagement with those students. And then you can introduce them to your list. Like in this case, I mean, the only thing we're doing with our list, I just posted over on the right, the only thing we're doing is we're only using it to notify people about the next show. That's all we're doing with it. And the reason is we want to really build this into a huge show over time. I mean, this year it's going to explode. It's going to be massive because we're going to bring the best people like you, Nick, people like Teresa Greenway, who's making thousands of dollars with a course on how to bake sourdough bread. We're going to bring two types of people to this passive income show. We're going to bring people who are making a lot of money on eBay and also people who are making good money on eBay in topics that you would have never thought.
Udemy, Udemy. Right? You said eBay, but Udemy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You're thinking of the
roots.
past.
Yeah, my roots coming back to me. Thinking on Udemy that you could make with just, odd or unusual courses, because I believe that there's a huge market there and there's a huge future there for just the average person that's in our audience right now to create a course on what they know and make even if it's just a few $100s a month, a few $1,000s a month, they might look out and create a course like you did and make a much bigger amount. So really, we want to highlight those stories. We want to highlight big income success stories and then the usual niche topic success stories that you would have never thought would be a good online course. So anyway, we're going to be doing that every week, but this is a good strategy. It does take a little bit of time and commitment, but I mean, it's what you're doing anyway as an online instructor. You're helping people. You're there to engage with them. So it's a really, really helpful strategy. Did we have any other questions, or should we bring some people on the call?
I think we should open it up, and if anyone does have questions right now, I know I've tried to keep a list of them and ask them to Nick throughout this, but if anyone has questions for Nick, for us, chat them in the box, or we'll open the seat for anybody who wants to come on live and chat with us.
Is the seat open now? Can you see that?
Yeah, it does say open seat, so
okay,
we should have...
All right, so you guys are welcome. We've got a pretty good audience here. You're welcome to come on and just ask your questions live to
somebody
Nick, or
join.
ask any kind of questions about online teaching. We're here.
Justin's
all three of us.
On.
Yeah, I would say all three of us would qualify as experts on online teaching. So, hey, Justin, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I got excited for something that Nick shared because I love to do content and I love to do teaching. And I've gotten hung up about the equipment, the aspect. And you can see I've got a light in the background that's shining on here. So I've got a Mac. I've got an iPhone. I've got the iPhone microphone here. What the minimum amount of additional equipment that I would need or suggestions so I could do Udemy, of the quality necessary for an Udemy course.
So what are you teaching?
A bunch of different topics. I teach public speaking to some extent. I teach content creation. I've got over 5,000 pieces of content online. I do walking and talking. I've got some personal development stuff that I teach. So I can come up with the concept of a course and outline it and do the actual content of it pretty quickly. But it's where I start getting a little bit nutty is in the quality, with the microphone or being in the right place with the right lighting is what gets gets in the way of it.
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing you can do to kind of up quality is the audio thing. So at least that I found, this is the Blue Yeti mic. I think it's pretty popular with anyone that's doing audio. And it's around like $100, which, oh, look, Dave's got it too. I mean, that's a fair chunk of change, but I mean, if you can skip some restaurant meals for the next couple of weeks and make that happen, like it's a big deal as far as audio quality. Then as far as video stuff goes, I would not be too worried about showing your face too much initially if you can't get stuff. I know any kind of like webcam that you can get that's just like of HD quality, I know those aren't more than like $50 to $100. Those are going to be fine. I think the one issue that I don't know a ton about is if you're going to be filming yourself like in front of some sort of green screen or something, you may want to go up. But all of this, again, is like packaged under, I was able to make $200,000 with the Apple earbuds and using the little built-in camera on the front of me against my back. The kitchen is my background. So, definitely if you've got the money and time, kind of upgrade your stuff, but do not let that be the thing that's going to hold you back from doing stuff. Like when in doubt, just put it out and you can always become better later.
Yeah. And Justin, I'm the master of the low budget course. And I don't mean low budget in terms of the quality of the course, but in terms of what I use to create the course. So here's what I recommend. Almost all of my courses, and I have 40 courses up on Udemy, almost all of them are PowerPoint presentations that I narrate, and I just record what's happening on my computer screen, and I use a software called screencast-o-matic.com. So let me put that up there for you guys, screencast-o-matic.com. And what you want to do is you want to get the pro version, which is only $15 a year.
Okay.
So for $15 a year, you can record whatever you're doing on your screen. Like let's say I wanted to record how to do something in Photoshop, right? So I would open up my Photoshop. I would open up the Screencast-O-Matic screen. I would make sure that it's framed correctly and literally hit the red record button. And as long as you have a good microphone, you're off to the races. I mean, so that's it. Just a simple screen sharing software, screencast software. Now, there are some more expensive ones like Camtasia, ScreenFlow for the Mac, but Screencast-O-Matic, I believe, works for all systems, and it's only $15 a year, and it outputs high quality HD video and audio. So that's a good way to go if you don't really want to bother with face-to-camera videos. Now, in some cases, you're going to want to do face-to-camera video because maybe you want to demonstrate something, or like, let's say you're teaching acting classes, you want to teach people how to appear on camera. Yeah. So in those cases, then, Phil's got some good recommendations. Before I send it to him, somebody mentioned in the chat, Logitech C920 is an HD webcam that is really high quality, and you could get it for about $70.
Wow.
So, and then if you want to go really, Phil is our photography and video expert. So Phil, why don't you take it away from there?
Yeah, I mean, I posted a list. I'll post it again. The link to I have 3 different setups that I use. Basically, one with screencast, one with a webcam, one with more of a professional video setup with a DSLR camera that shoots video. So you can get pretty intense with that stuff. And if you're doing, personal development, that kind of speaking type of courses, I feel like you should be on camera, like displaying what you're teaching. And so it might be good to invest in some sort of camera. But I think, like Nick said, audio is way more important. The one note I will say is that Udemy is, and in general, online courses are becoming higher quality. And this is for everyone out there. I think 3 years ago, I started out just teaching with the internal microphone on my laptop with the webcam on my laptop. But now those classes compared to the average class on Udemy aren't that great. And it's going to be more and more competitive to try to sell a class that doesn't have great sound and great video quality. So it is something that, while it shouldn't be a barrier to start teaching because your first course isn't going to be a great course, once you do have a class or two under your belt with your webcam and your iPhone microphone, headphones, it might be a good idea to invest in the Logitech C920 webcam. That's $70, and the Blue Yeti or the Blue Snowball microphone like they have, which is like $50 on Amazon. So it's a really low upfront cost. But yeah, I use the Logitech C920 webcam for a lot of my videos too. It does really good job if you have nice lighting and a clean background behind you. So that's what I would say.
And for me, and I'll hop off in a second here and let somebody else hop in. It's not about the money for me as much as I'm in different places all the time. So it's the logistics of the mobile setup. So I don't know, I'll hop off, let somebody else come on. But if you could, speak to, being in different locations and not really having a good sense of light and that sort of thing, I would appreciate that piece also. Thanks for having me on, and I'll hop off with somebody else.
Hey, thanks, Justin. Good having you.
Thanks, Justin. And I'll just follow up on that. I think for those types of classes, you can basically teach a screencast class wherever you want. You could pack your Blue Snowball or Blue Yeti microphone. It's a USB-based microphone. You can take it with you. If you are shooting things where you're on camera, I would suggest trying to knock all of those videos out in one location where you can set up a nice shot with good lighting. Good lighting you can spend a lifetime trying to study how to get good lights, but in general, the more light, the better. Behind the camera, it could be a window. It could be a couple desk lamps. I use what are called paper lanterns. It's also on that equipment list that I shared that are relatively cheap. You can get them at Home Depot or IKEA. So it could come pretty cheap.
That's great. Now, Nick, your courses, were they done screencast style or face-to-camera style, or both?
Screencast style. And I originally used Camtasia. I've moved over to ScreenFlow. But I am trying to more, even though it's just coding that's, completely done on the computer, I'm trying to put my face down in like the bottom left corner out of the way, just because I had someone tell me this, and I think it's probably true. I don't know for sure. Is this that if you're watching someone and you see the person teaching it right there, that's just kind of a deeper connection that I can lure them more into my lair. And now we've got a relationship, and I'm going to teach you how to code, right? And we're more buddy-buddy that way. But yeah, mostly screencast.
That makes sense. It really makes sense for a programming type course. And really, in my opinion, for most courses, you could do well with screencast. You could even use screenshots if you need to within the PowerPoint. But one of the things I am doing this year, 2016, is I'm going to be adding a lot of face-to-camera video to my existing courses, because I do agree that it will add more connection, and especially if you make those previewable for free in your course, students will be able to connect with the instructor as opposed to just seeing a PowerPoint and feeling like it's boring. I feel like once a student gets into my course, they won't be bored. They'll be from what the ratings say and all that other reviews say, but it's getting them past that point of going of not prejudging a PowerPoint course. You know what I mean? Where they go, oh, that's PowerPoint, forget it. No, I want to lure them in, like you said, lure them into my lair and get them to really experience the teaching. So, hey, if anybody else wants to join us, we'd love to have you on. Got a great audience here, and just welcome you all. For those of you that are excited and like what you see here, we'd like to welcome you to subscribe to our notifications list. That's simply to notify you about every upcoming show that we have. We've got some awesome shows planned this year, so go ahead and click on that link and you can sign up. But I'd like to welcome anybody, or if you have any questions, go ahead and type in /Q and your question, and we're here to answer all the questions you have. So here we have Frank coming on.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey Frank, how you doing?
Great. I kind of came in late here, halfway through or something, but you guys are doing a great job. Thanks for all the content you're putting out here.
Oh, awesome. Welcome aboard.
Thanks. So when you're doing a course, Udemy course or whatever, what is your frame for like a starting price point? I know everybody's internet marketing, it's got to end in 7, but is it, should you do your first one at 97, 297, 497? What is your starting price point?
Well, since Nick's our guest, let's have Nick answer that one.
And I'll frame it with, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll tell you what I've done in the past.
Okay.
So I read a blog. So I think initially I was putting classes at like $100 or like 200, and there wasn't really a rhyme or reason. I just thought that seems about right. And then I read this article from the people over at Teachable, used to be Fedora, and they had a whole thing about your course is worth more than you think it is. And so I think now the max price you can put on Udemy is $300. And so I assume if I'm making any course that took me over a month to make, that's worth $300. And the thing is, I'm sure you guys know this as Udemy instructors, I never sell at full price. I mean, sometimes I have courses that maybe like 0.5% of my sales are like that. So I've never really experienced full price things. So I've always thought I need to max out whatever it's worth because, my stuff's more valuable than maybe I think it is. That being said, I've never tried the low end, and maybe people get more like full price sales when it's down there, but that's my experience. So.
Yeah. And the thing about Udemy is that they do engage in a lot of discounted sales. They do engage in a lot of, like they had a Black Friday sale, they have a January sale. So when they do that, if you're an instructor who has opted into Udemy's promotions, because you can opt in or opt out, but if you've opted into their promotion machine, so to speak, then they can control your pricing and they can lower your pricing at will. So pricing can be relative in this type of environment. If it were a traditional normal environment like Amazon.com, where everybody sets their price and wherever it ends up is where it ends up, then I would say that the average online course would sell for between $27 and $97. As you get into the longer courses, like 4, 5, 6, 7 hour courses, $200 or $300, $400, $500 would be the norm. Again, noting that Udemy only allows up to $300 courses. But if you're teaching outside of Udemy, like on a site like Teachable, which, by the way, you can automatically import your Udemy courses into your Teachable school. So it's a very cool feature. You can set that price as high as you want. And I've got course bundles on Teachable that are $600, $700, $1,000 because I've bundled up several courses into a nice package that I'm going to be selling using sales funnels. So within the Udemy ecosphere, you want to keep it somewhat reasonable relative to what it might eventually sell for in a discounted pricing situation, like a $15, $19, $27 pricing situation. What do you think about that, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same thing. For me, since on Udemy, the price, I assume that most of my sales are going to come from discounted promotions that they hold. It's really only for my own benefit that I differentiate prices. So I have different tiers of courses that I think are better. And so when someone comes to my profile page and sees that I have a course for $97 and $297 and $147, it's really just a mental game for me trying to get them to think that the $297 price courses are a better course, which they are, because I don't want to put my 30-minute, Photoshop very specific course for $47 or for $297 when my 8-hour photography course is $297 as well. I see a lot of people doing that. I see a lot of people putting all of their courses at the max price, and it might work for them, but it's just that's how I think works well for me, and it's done well. So that's the only.
And what?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what is your typical course then? If you're going to a Udemy course, let's say for and it's $297, and that's going to get discounted, do you do like a 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour course? What is the typical length of a course that you would do for a Udemy, knowing that you're going to be probably selling it at a discounted price?
For me, my courses range, but I would say on average they're between like 4 to 6 hours. But I also have courses that are an hour, and I have courses that are 12 hours. I don't know about Nick. Yours are probably pretty long.
Yeah, most of them are pretty chunky. I experimented with one that was only an hour and a half class, but yeah, they're usually around more like 20-hour kind of a thing.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that is long.
And I think this goes...
Do you find that people will watch a 20-hour course? I mean, that's a lot of content.
No, I mean, you watch the thing, the number of people that make it to the end is very small, but I kind of set up those courses as like it's a buffet kind of a thing, and it's like I don't expect you to go start to finish through the thing, like go pick your topics. But again, this is all I've known. Maybe I'm doing this terribly wrong and my courses are way too long. So
I think the thing is that when people are searching on Udemy, all they have to judge when you search for a topic is your course pops up with the reviews and how long the course is. And so when there's two courses that are the same price with about the same amount of reviews and same ratings, and one's an hour long and one's 8 hours long, in general, people are going to buy the 8-hour course. Even if the hour-long course is better, it packs a punch better, it teaches you better, they're just going to buy the longer course. So that's not to say that we should just beef up our courses with longer content, but I think that is probably why your courses are successful, Nick, that they are longer.
Yeah, that is one of the things that, by the way, Udemy has confirmed is that longer courses sell better. And it's funny because I went out and created 40 courses that range from anywhere from an hour. My shortest course, I only have one course that's this short. It's about 45 minutes. But my longest course is probably 5 hours. But my average course is about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Pretty simple, objective-based courses. But in talking to some of the people I know at Udemy, they said longer courses tend to sell better, and longer courses have the opportunity to be promoted by Udemy directly even more than short courses. So the bottom line is if you can pack your course with good content and build it, and then you're going to have a better shot at more promotions and at more sales, even if it is at a discounted rate. And having said that, Phil and I compared notes, I think it was last week's show, right? And we said, yes, our longer courses are selling better than our shorter courses. And in this particular month, my longer eBay course is by far outselling all my other courses, primarily because I think Udemy is actually advertising it, promoting it. They see this as a good time of the year for people to start selling on eBay because, they have their Christmas bills piling up. And
there's your eBay coming back again.
No. This is my eBay course teaching people how to sell on eBay.
Okay.
That's why my background keeps coming back to me because, but they're getting behind my course because January, February, March is a good time of year for people to learn how to make an additional income on eBay. So that's that was the kind of the long version of, yes, we should generally speaking have longer courses, but that doesn't mean that short courses are bad. They sell, they just don't sell or don't have as much opportunity as a slightly longer. And I'm going to define longer as 3, 4, or 5 hours in that range. Frank, what kind of topics are you interested in teaching on?
So I would be teaching all on business topics. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I also coach and consult with startups and entrepreneurs, business people. Also would teach potentially on sales, influence, and persuasion, and marketing strategy, things like that, business development, and then raising capital, which I think is going to be a really big one because there's so much confusion and lack of understanding about what it takes to raise capital. And I've had a lot of success in raising money. So that's something that people are always asking me about. And I think that's something that I could easily monetize.
That's great. A lot of those soft skills like sales, persuasion, and success like that, I think those are good. Udemy has this entire Udemy for Business kind of sideline or side business, I guess you could say, where they promote courses that apply to corporations, and corporations will buy in to the Udemy for Business structure or platform. And then those are more geared towards work skills. Like the sales one would be perfect for that. So in that situation, they actually promote you in the Udemy for Business platform.
Yeah, I've got a couple of courses I could create on sales training and things like persuasion and influence language patterns. I've been working with that and studying that for decades now, so got a lot of expertise around those areas.
Yeah, and I think what you said is really key for anybody that's trying to think of a topic that they should teach. You said it's what people ask you about, and that's probably the first place to go to. What do your friends talk to you about? What do your friends ask you about? That's a great thing to teach a course on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from New York and worked on Wall Street, but then started my own company and raised tens of millions of dollars. So people are always asking me to help them raise money or look at a business plan or look at a pitch deck or help them with an elevator pitch and things like that. So I do a lot of work around those types of topics, those types of clients.
Well, that's a really good positioning statement, as you already know about sales and persuasion. So it's excellent positioning and it's excellent credibility to be able to point to that success of raising that much money, and to be able to say, and therefore I can teach you how to do it too. Right. And maybe build a master course on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that I would start with I just want to test the waters. I've never done an online course before, but test the waters with something generic and maybe a small chunk of it, one aspect of sales or something like that, and see how that does to test the course, and then build other courses around it that could then be packaged up into something larger.
Right. That's great. All right.
Well, I'll free up the seat. Thank you very much. I appreciate you answering the questions, and great job. I love the content. I follow all you guys. I'll check in with you again as well.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Nick, I know, usually our blabs are about an hour long, so we've gone a little bit past. So before, if anybody has to go, can you just let everyone know where they can find you, what website, if you have a website, and anything else, any other pieces of advice before we get any other questions?
Yeah. So the place I would love to connect with people, I'm going to type this in the bottom here, is I have this website, teachtoamillion.com. So this is kind of my goal to make $1 million in a 12-month period of time teaching online. I'm trying to be the Pat Flynn of online teaching, right? I want to be very transparent exactly how much I'm making, what kind of stuff works, what doesn't, and I want to explore places outside of Udemy. It's just, I want to kind of make a home for people who are doing online teaching to just kind of hear stuff that's not, it's not a sales pitch from some company. This is actually what does work and what doesn't work. You can check the numbers to actually see. So that's where I'd love to connect with people. Then there's 2 books that I would say have completely changed my life as far as business stuff goes. And some even into personal sides that I always share with people. So number 1 is a book by this guy, Dave Ramsey, I mentioned earlier. He's this financial dude from the South. It's called The Total Money Makeover. So especially as online teachers, right? Your income month to month can be completely different, right? Some months you're killing it. Some months it's like, oh gosh, the ship is sinking. We're done for. And so being in great control of your personal finances is a big deal. And it allows you to be riskier as a teacher. The more that you have your finances under control, the quicker you can quit your full-time job and jump into this teaching thing and, be more proactive about stuff. So getting your personal finances in check is a big deal. I'm a huge fan of this guy, Dave Ramsey. So I highly recommend his book called The Total Money Makeover. It's a really old one, so you can get tons of used copies on the internet. And I just saw Northwest Sourdough join the mailing list. Thank you for heading over to teach2million.com. That's awesome. The other book I really recommend is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. If any of you guys have read that, it just completely changed my whole thinking on life. And the guy has tons of practical tips in there about, things you can do. That being said, it was written a little bit a while ago. So there's this whole, thing about personal assistance that I think a lot of that has like changed, but there are just like core principles in there about kind of ways to approach life and stuff that was a game changer for me. So those two books, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss and The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, both of those are really good books.
Excellent. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? Are we going to wrap up here, Phil, or do we?
Well, we can keep going. I might have to hop off, but I don't know if you and Nick want to just continue, see if anyone else wants to join.
All-nighter. Woo!
My stomach is starting to rumble. I really should eat dinner before these blabs next time.
Yeah, I think we've done a good job. We covered a lot of good information, so I think it'd be good to stop here and also make sure that everybody knows, hey, we're here every week. Next week, for example, we're going to be talking. I'm going to actually be interviewing Phil on his Udemy course promotion formula, because he recently launched a YouTube course. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the launch and how it went?
Yeah, the launch went really well. I launched it with 2 other teachers who co-taught the class, and it was my best launch to date. Just on Udemy, we promoted it and made about $4,500 in the first 24 hours of the launch. And obviously, there's a huge deal about me having a lot of students already, which helped a lot. But I use tools like YouTube, my own website, and Facebook to make sales as well. So I'm really excited about it. And it's kind of like I finally figured out a system. Before, it was like I was doing all these sorts of things. But going forward, this is how I'm going to promote and launch every single course that I create on Udemy and off of Udemy. So I'm really excited to kind of put it down on paper. I'll create some sort of PDF that everybody who listens next week can download and kind of just use. And it'll include a schedule where I tell you, okay, 15 days before your launch, you do this, 7 days, 6 days, do this, do this, do this. And it should help everyone a lot, and it'll help me. So that's why I'm doing it.
Cool. That is awesome. I'm looking forward to it, and you're my co-host. I mean, so, this is awesome. Well, and I just wanted to reiterate for everyone that's still with us, thank you for staying on with us. We plan and intend to make this show unbelievable, amazing, awesome. We intend to make this show where you're going to be sick to your stomach if you miss a Thursday night show. Okay, so that's how good we want to make it. So therefore, I recommend you get on our email list and follow us on Blab, follow us on Twitter, wherever you got to follow us, because we're going to be making this show happen every week, and we're going to make it big. It's going to be exciting, and we can't wait to share it with you. We found something good here, right, Phil?
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's exciting to be able to share from our experience and from what we've already done, and then be able to share as we're growing even more, and as well as bringing awesome guests like Nick. Want to thank Nick so much for joining us tonight. That was awesome, and thanks for working through those tech issues as well. But thank you so much, Nick, for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I just want to say, shout out for hosting something like this. My first year of teaching online was pretty lonely. I mean, it was me at the kitchen table, and I'm starting to make my, online teaching friends. But you spend a lot of time by yourself talking essentially to nobody. Ultimately, it's to students, but as someone looking inside, it's like this guy's just talking to his computer all day. So I think it's really cool you're doing this kind of face-to-face thing where people can pop in, and I think we all need a little more human interaction as we live very much online.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We're going to cut it off here at this point.